Today we're going through every single good card that you need to know about in Final Fantasy, the main set. Let's get into it. We got a ton to cover. I've got a ton of cards to show you guys. I'm not going to be reading the cards word for word, but I'll give you the gist of all of them. If you want to see what they do, just go ahead and pause the video so you can just read the whole card yourself. But we're going to be getting after it because we got a ton to cover. First cards up, we've got some great reanimation targets. These may not be the strongest for Commander, but they may see some standard play because we're going to be losing Atraxa Grand Unifier on rotation this summer. So these may step in for it. Sin Spear's Punishment, probably not the best. It's just a 7/7 flyer, but it lets you get another permanent out of the graveyard when you snag it. So, technically you could just get a 7/7 free body with it. So that's not too bad, but I wouldn't play it alone, especially it's not probably in the right colors for it. But hey, I'm putting it on the list just so you are aware of it. Next two cards are Summon Bahamut and Summon Knights of the Round. One of these kind of goes wide. It's a 3/3 indestructible that makes 3 2/2 knights for 4 rounds and then kind of buffs everyone and gives them indestructible. Interesting if you need to go wide with your reanimate. I think the probable more likely target is Summon Bahamut. It's a 9-drop, but it is colorless, so you can put it in some other stuff, which is neat. But it destroys up to 1 non-land target. When it ETBs, does that for 2 turns. Then the 3rd turn, it'll draw 2 cards, and on the 4th turn, it'll deal damage equal to the total number of mana value you control in permanents to your opponent. Bahamut himself isn't a slouch, as he's a 9/9 flyer, which can typically get in for some good beats. Next up, we've got Eris Gainsborough. This card you can kind of use in lieu of Heliod Sun Crown. She's got lifelink, so you don't need to give it to her. And whenever you gain life, you can put a 1/1 counter on her. And when she dies, you can distribute the counters, but you're probably not going to use that part. You can use Agatha's Soul Cauldron to give her Walking Ballista's ability. And every time you remove a counter, you gain life, so you can add a counter to her, and you just keep doing that until you kill your enemies. Next up, we've got Cloud. He's a power down Stoneforge Mystic. He lets you get the equipment, but he doesn't let you put it into play. But he does let you double trigger anything that is attached to him, like the Buster Sword, which we're going to cover here in the white cards and not in the colorless one, because it's his sword. Oh well, you can't stop me. Buster Sword just gives a little stat buff, and when it deals damage to a player, you can draw a card and then cast a spell for free that is less than the damage that you are dealing. So if you put Buster Sword on Cloud, you can cast anything that is less than 5 mana. Other notable things, if you go to Commander, you can attach all the swords of X and Y, and those will work great with him. They will double trigger as well, but do note that if he is equipped, you can also use anything that's like an aura that gives Cloud an ability, and that stuff will double trigger, like Curious Obsession. That will double trigger as long as he is equipped. Next, we've got some pretty niche Commander cards we got from Father to Son with his just a 2-mana vehicle tutor. If you're in a vehicle deck, this is great. If not, don't play it. Then we've got Stillskin Moogle Merchant, which is a great card if you're doing group hug, give stuff away decks like Zedru. Again, otherwise, don't play this card. Next up, we've got the Crystal Cycle. We've got a crystal for every single color here. They're just okay. I think the blue one is the best, as it does have some combo potential with Grindstone and Sphinx's Tutelage. Notably, the +4 text allows the Grindstone to look +4 deep, same with Sphinx's Tutelage. So instead of looking at the 2 cards, it looks at all 6 that got milled, and if there's any 2 things that share the same color in those 6 cards, you get to do it again. So it just widens your percentage of actually going infinite and actually milling someone out all the way with those cards. Otherwise, I think the effects are just alright. Having double pips in your mana rock is asking a lot, especially in multicolored decks. It's a 4-mana rock that gives you the ability that you can get for a 2-mana rock. All the medallions just got reprinted in MH3, and they're pretty cheap, so you really want to have whatever the 2nd and 3rd clauses on these crystals are. They're okay. The mill one is pretty good. The wind one's not too bad. I think everything else is just a little too overcosted, but it is what it is. If you really want this effect, reach out for one of these cards. Otherwise, I think they're pretty easy skips. Next card up is Edgar Figaro and Coin Flip Decks Rejoice. All of you can get to play Stitch in Time, and it actually just works. That's cool. You will draw at least 1 card because you will have already tutored for Krark's Thumb no matter what. Next up, we've got Luiwa's Sacrifice. It's a 1-mana counter spell for non-creature stuff, but you have to either sacrifice a legendary creature or pay 2. So it's either a very crappy cancel or you have to sack a legendary. I don't think this beats out an Offer You Can't Refuse or Swan Song, but if you're in a deck that can actually support that, you have a lot of legendaries and stuff, maybe this is 3rd on the list. It is still a 1-mana counter, and those can be very powerful. Next notable card on the list is Memories Returning. This is a fact or fiction, but it's just a little slower, but you do get flashback from it. The upside of this one, as opposed to Fact or Fiction, is that you're guaranteed 3 cards, so there's less politicking with it in terms of you can use a friend to get all 5 cards, but you also won't get boned and have to pick the pile that just has 2 cards or 1 card in it. Also, I think the minigame is super fun of you and an opponent trading card for card. After that, we've got Summon Leviathan. We typically see these effects. You get the big body, you return everything else to its hand. This one actually comes with a little protection on him. He's got Ward 2, and you can actually swing in and draw a card with him. So this little guy does replace himself. He does die in 3 turns, but I think that's a worthy trade-off to actually just get a card. And unlike standard ward wipes, you do have a body, at least for a little bit. And if you are in those creature types and swing in and get a bunch of card draw off of it, I think that's a lot of upside. I would say take a look at Summon Leviathan if you're in one of those decks where you need this kind of effect. Then the blue niche cards for Commander, we've got Matoya, which says basically if you're playing either of the Scry or the Surveil Commander, you should put this in your deck. Otherwise, don't bother. It's not enough value to warrant it otherwise. And then Y'shtola Rule, which basically if you're in a Flicker deck or an End Step Matters thing, you get to do End Step twice. It is 6 mana. Again, don't put it in any decks outside of that. First up in black, we've got some constructed format potentials. We've got Cecile Dark Knight, who kind of wants to be in Death Shadow, but on the backside, he really doesn't want to be in Death Shadow, so there's a weird dichotomy there, but kind of interesting nonetheless. Bob is back to be yet another boomer card, rendered irrelevant in the standard meta. Unfortunately, we are just too fast right now, and drawing a card and then losing life and probably just taking a shock to the face just isn't going to cut it when mice can kill you in 3 turns. Next is Ninja Blades. It's a cool card that will slot into your fun Yuriko decks. I'm not saying it's super powerful, but it's definitely interesting, and it's an alternate way for her to deal damage to a specific player by discarding a card based on mana value, which is already what Yuriko likes to be doing. Next card up is a beast, though. Sephiroth Fabled Soldier is a house. Whenever it enters or attacks, you can sack another creature. If you do draw a card, if you do that 4 times in a turn, you get to flip him over. And what does he do? He gives you Blood Artist on an emblem. The only thing that was making Blood Artist kind of sort of fair was the fact that you could kill it. Now you can't. Also now, instead of just drawing 1 card every time you sack a creature, you get to draw for every card. He's obviously going to be pretty gross in Commander. I could even see him going back to the Rakdos Sacrifice deck in Pioneer. I think this is just a good card. Not really too much going on in red, and that's probably for the best because standard is being dominated by red right now, so maybe we deserve a little break. But here are some of the niche cards I thought were cool to look at. We've got Gilgamesh, Master at Arms. It's 6 mana, but when it enters or attacks, you get to look 6 deep and snag an equipment and put it right onto the battlefield. That's a pretty cool thing. Next, we've got Summon Girlfriend Cerberus. That's probably not what it is, but you don't make the rules. Chapter 1 lets you surveil one, which is kind of whatever. Then in chapters 2 and 3, it lets you copy stuff 2 times and 3 times respectively. This card is definitely a trap, but being able to copy something 3 times is just too cool for the Timmy and me to not put on the list. We've got a cool one in Ancient Adamantoise. This is a Vigilant Ward 3 8/20. It costs 8 mana, and damage is not removed from this creature during cleanup. How neat is that? Basically, he'll just keep stacking damage as he gets pinged and blocked and doing all this stuff. And he also sucks up any damage that would be dealt to any other permanents and you. Finally, when it dies, it exiles itself and creates 10 tap treasure tokens, but you can slap a little inviolability or some other enchantment on it that maybe prevents all the damage. And then you've got this 8/20 beat stick with Ward 3 that just won't die and is taking all the damage for you. Another ridiculous green card in Jumbo Cactuar. It's 7 mana, so you're definitely cheating this in. And it says whenever it attacks, it gets plus 9,999 and then plus 0. I recommend being as cheatery with this as you can. Sneak attack this bad boy in, kill one person for 9,000, fling it at another, and then bang, you've only got one more opponent, but you've just killed 2 people in one of the coolest ways possible. Next up, we've got Tifa Lockhart, one of the main characters from Final Fantasy VII and more popular ones just in general for the franchise, and she's got a neat little party trick in standard that'll get you if you're not paying attention. You play Tifa on turn 2, you play Titanic Growth on her on turn 3, then you just slap down a Fabled Passage and crack it, bing bang boom, you got 20 damage right there on Tifa, and she's got Trample. It's definitely just a removal check, but if someone doesn't have it, they're gonna have a bad day. Moving on to the multicolor cards, we've got some cool new commanders. We've got Choco, Seeker of Paradise, which is a cool chocobo commander for birds, which basically lets you dig pretty deep into your deck based on the amount of birds you have and how they're attacking. So yeah, I mean, it's solid, just card advantage in there. We've got Kuja, Genome Sorcerer, which basically lets you create a lot of pingers, so it's looking to do some sort of black spell slinger deck, which is nice because it's usually in Izzet. And then finally, we got a big bad from Final Fantasy VI in Kefka Court Mage. When he ETBs or attacks, everyone discards a card, and you get to draw cards for every card type that is discarded this way. So basically, you want to play a lot of cards that have multiple card types on them. And if for some reason you're feeling spicy and you want to spend 8 mana, you can flip around, and whenever an opponent would lose life during your turn, you get to draw that many cards. That's pretty nice. I'm sure a lot of people will be picking this one up. But we do have a stronger commander potentially in VV. This is a crazy card that basically every non-creature you cast, you put a +1/+1 counter on them. And then for 0 mana and at instant speed, you can add any combination of blue and or red mana to your mana pool based on VV's power. Classic way to build this is doing cantripy things where you're considering, you're opting, you're going to build up VV while still maintaining good card advantage, and then you can just have a big burst of mana to do something cool with. Or you could even do a little weird route by casting buff spells like Wild Ride, where you can spend 1 mana and give VV 4 power, buff the amount of rituals you're playing in the deck. So if you needed more desperate rituals or something, you could just play a Wild Ride. It's basically the same thing. Finally, we've got 2 multicolor cards that may be potentials reaching back to modern. We shall see. Lightning Army of 1 has First Strike, Trample, and Lifelink, and says whenever she deals combat damage to a player, double the rest of your damage until your next turn. Which in the Boros aggro deck, which is predominant in modern right now, if you got a lot of little tokens from Ocelot Pride, from Ajani, all of those tokens, because Lightning has First Strike, will then hit afterwards, and they will all deal double damage. So instead of 1, they'll be doing 2. Goblin Bombardment will also let you throw all of these little tokens for 2 damage instead of 1, and your Flage will hit for 6, which is kind of neat. Then we've got Wandering Minstrel. He's got a lot of words, but the main one we're focusing on is lands come into play untapped. Amulet of Vigor is the namesake of Amulet Titan, which has a similar effect, and even some lists have played Splunking, which is a 3 mana card for this effect. So a 2 mana creature that does the same thing in the correct colors may actually be worth playing. The double color may be a little bit of a hindrance, and he is kind of thin, so maybe it won't see play, but there is some potential there. The only other colors card I was really interested in is Genji Glove. This is an equipment that gives you an additional combat. 2 reasons this is very interesting. One, it's on an equipment, so it's tutorable in all your equipment decks, which generally are combat-based decks, so getting an extra combat is really nice. And it's also the first time we've gotten this effect, and it's been colorless, so you can kind of slot it in wherever. It's going to go in a Boros deck for sure, but potentially down the road, if you've got another equipment deck that isn't Boros colors, you can also put this one in there. We're in the home stretch now, looking at the lands, and we've got Starting Town, which doesn't look super great. You're probably not going to play this in Commander. We are cycling out half of the fast lands in Standard come this summer, so the Starting Town may take the place of some of those untapped duels just at the beginning of the game. And then finally, we have the cycle of Adventure Lands. I think these are really cool. I like a land that basically lets you cast it, and then you can play it later for free. You don't have to choose like you do with the MDFCs. If you want the spell effect, you can just also play the land later. But if you just need the land, it can just be the land. They all do enter tapped, which is a bit of a bummer. And the rates are also not that great for these spells. So I would say if your deck really desperately needs these specific effects, I would look at them. Otherwise, I'd probably skip them. They're not that great, but I think it's a good add in the decks that do want to do these very specific things. That's all the cards from the Final Fantasy main set that I think are worth noting. Let me know in the comments below if I forgot anything, or come yell at me in the new Discord. We've got a new community that just started up, so join me there if you want to talk real time. I've got more deck tune-up videos for Vegas coming up soon, so stick around for that, as well as we're going to be doing set EVs for Final Fantasy. So if that's something that's interests you, consider hitting the subscribe button, and YouTube and the algorithms will let you know when I post that stuff. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.